This house is full of sounds. The loudest is your heart pounding in the night. The softest is the sound of terror. In this house, terror waits for you in every room.
Where are they?
Vampires, voodoo, vixens, and victims. You'll find them all in the house that dripped blood.
Hi, welcome to BNS About Movies. This is Sam.
And his wife, Becca.
And this week, I get to pick the movie, because I won our bet last time. And I picked 1971's AMICUS, The House That Dripped Blood.
Ooh.
It's got a great cover with Christopher Lee's head on a plate.
Which you will make even more great
yes.
when you put your head on a plate and me carrying it for the cover.
It stars a lot of awesome people, such as Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, Denholm Elliott, John Pertwee, Josh Ackland, Tom Adams, Ingrid Pitt. So I'll tell you what it's about. It's all written by Robert Bloch, who also wrote Psycho. And it's 4 terrifying stories in one movie. It's a portmanteau, as they call it. So shortly after renting an old country house, film star Paul Henderson mysteriously disappears. And Inspector Holloway from Scotland Yard is called to investigate. According to the local police station, Holloway is told of the house's history. So that's a couple quick facts about the movie before we start. Well, fact number 1 about us. Becca and I love AMICUS movies.
They're our favorite.
Our favorite. Tales from the Crypt is a great movie. Florida Horror is great. Asylum is great. They're all wonderful.
Which one's your favorite?
Man, there's so many good ones. Tales from the Crypt's great. Torture Garden a lot. There's a lot of good AMICUS movies. It's really hard for me to pick. There's some funny lines in here. So at one point, horror star Paul Henderson, who's the main guy at the movie's about, says he misses the old great horror movies. And he says, the one with Bela Lugosi, of course, not the new fellow. Obviously referring to Christopher Lee, who's in this movie. In one scene when Christopher Lee's in it, you can see him reading his favorite book, Lord of the Rings, 30 years before he would play Saruman. Mm-hmm. In the Lord of the Rings movies. Thought that was interesting. This movie was originally called Death and the Maiden, and you can hear why, because when Peter Cushing is listening to music at the beginning of Waxworks, the first movement is the Allegro from Death and the Maiden. Mm. I like whatever AMICUS one it is where the tailor makes the clothes for the guy, the rainbow suit, and it makes the dummy move. The problem is that we watch these so many times and they
kind of all get intertwined.
Yeah, because we watch like 4 of them in a day. Mm-hmm. So originally, when this came out in the UK, it was rated A for all audiences. Okay, that's like a PG because of its lack of gore. They were worried that it wouldn't do as well as the box office, so they begged for it to be re-rated X, or they would not release it. The censor agreed. Vincent Price was actually offered the role of Paul Henderson that John Pertwee took, but he was not allowed to take the role.
Why?
Because he was under contract to American International for all their awesome Edgar Allan Poe movies, and not allowed to make any other horror movies except for them. Through the mid-70s.
That makes sense.
Yeah. If you look in the photographs at some point in here in Paul Henderson's mirror, one is John Pertwee driving Bessie, the car he drove as the Doctor in Doctor Who. At this time, he was still the 3rd Doctor in Doctor Who. So this movie has a ton of Doctor Who people. It has John Pertwee, who was the 3rd Doctor. Peter Cushing, who played Doctor Who in Amicus's Doctor Who and the Daleks and Dalek Invasion Earth 2150 AD, which has nothing to do with the show. Jeffrey Byron, who played the Doctor on the audio version. And Joanna Lumley, who played a female version of the Doctor in a comic relief sketch. And you know who Joanna Lumley is?
Yes.
From Ab Fab.
Yes.
She is in this movie. And in the Waxworks segments, Christopher Lee is made up to look like a wax Dracula, and Peter Cushing keeps walking past him. Finally, this film takes place from 69 to 71, right around the same time. And another interesting thing, whenever Paul Henderson examines the cloak he has, it says property of Shepperton Studios. That's where they actually made the film, so they really they grabbed a cape from the prop department. There's nothing fancy about that. Oh, the last thing I thought that was kind of interesting here, Peter Cushing was super devoted to his wife, Helen. She was dying while he was making this movie. Aww. And he begged to get out of the contract so he could spend time with her, and he couldn't. I explained that because in Tales from the Crypt, he was supposed to play a different part, and he begged to play the part he played because he understood what it was like to lose your wife. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to do that part as a kind of like a dedication to his wife. Ah. So he was famously, like, that's why he didn't take a lot of roles overseas or travel a lot.
To be far away.
Yeah, because his wife was sick for a long time.
This one I think we should do a little different since there's the 4 stories. I think we should come back after each story.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up and see which Amicus story that is while we're still recording this, so I don't come off like an idiot.
Which one?
Which one was the coat?
That's Asylum.
Well, let's look it up. I'm looking up Amicus Asylum. We'll see if...
We're going to make a bet on this.
It's in the dishwasher.
Oh.
Inside joke. Literally. Yes, the Weird Tailor. That is in Asylum.
Thank you.
Peter Cushing plays Mr. Smith. It can animate anything, including the dead, and the Storm Mannequin comes back. That's actually adapted from an episode of Boris Karloff's Thriller. I didn't know that. I love these movies because they have a crazy amount of British actors who later become really famous or are in a lot of other genre movies. Mm-hmm. Because like Charlotte Rampling is in in Asylum. She plays Barbara, who keeps talking about her mischievous friend Lucy. Yeah, played by Britt Eklund. She's who was of course in The Wicker Man, wasn't she? No, I'm thinking of someone different that was in that. She was also in The $6 Million Man too, and Monster Club. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, big fan of this movie. Hopefully, I think. Listeners, if you haven't watched this movie, I think you should pause this podcast right now and maybe just go watch the first segment, and then you can come back and watch it with us, and it'll be like you were watching it with us.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Who, before we watch this, who would you say your favorite person in this movie is? Your favorite actor of all these horror greats that are in this movie?
Denholm Elliott.
Really?
He played all those, what do you call them when they're not the main characters, but they're...
He's a character actor, yeah.
Yes. He was in Indiana Jones.
You're right.
He was in Trading Places.
You're right.
He always plays a butler / sidekick / something like that.
This is, I was looking at the different ways that this is crossed over and stuff, and the references that are in it. One of the false grails in the Knight's Chamber at the end of Indiana Jones and the Lost Crusade is the same prop that was the same chalice that's in the cloak segment here 20 years later, which is kind of funny because choose
wisely.
Yeah, the one that has the tall weathered one with the top with thick gems, that's the one that's in this movie that the vampires drink.
I'm gonna look for it.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. And one of the Ghost Train's paintings in the movie The Night with Selena is inspired by the poster from this movie. This movie actually figures into a lot of things I think is kind of cool. In fact, when they made the Garbage Pail Kids movie, they named it after this movie. The House That Dripped Crud.
Baby.
I didn't make that up.
I know.
I thought that was pretty interesting. Also, Christopher Lee's character, John Reed, in this, his name comes from the Lone Ranger. This movie follows the Amicus movies Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, The Psychopath, and Torture Garden, which, again, is another of my favorites. And then it's followed by Tales from the Crypt, Asylum, The Vault of Horror, From Beyond the Grave, and The Monster Club.
So was this one before those ones?
Yeah, this one comes after. And then, actually, every night, whenever I go to bed, I actually have a glass. We
bought him a coaster at what was it, the horror flea market?
Horror flea market, and it's the only thing we found.
All 4 actors on it.
Yeah, it has John Carradine, Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, and Christopher Lee. And that's what I put my drink on every night. Becca uses Michael Myers.
I know.
But it's a really cool wood coaster. I don't even know who made it. I can't push you in the direction of who to buy it from, but we were in Cleveland and we heard all about this. It was at Now That's Class, which is like a vegan bar.
That should have been mistake number 1. Right there, you don't trust vegans.
That said, that trip worked out really good.
You know what vegans should do?
What?
Eat other vegans. Then they would know that there's meat in there.
Do you know what a vegan is?
What?
It's an asshole vegetarian.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm sure there's a lot of nice vegans that are listening to this podcast that were excited. They're getting ready. They went out and they bought...
If they want to call me a name, they can call me a Metasaurus. So, they can make it whatever they want.
That's kind of a nice name.
Huh?
It's a nice name.
Metasaurus.
Oh, my baby, Metasaurus.
Yeah.
I think so. But that trip, we ended up getting a lot of... We went to the exchange.
We ended up doing better.
Yeah.
At a, what do you want to call it?
The exchange.
I wouldn't call it a corporate America type thing, but a normal store than this horror flea market.
How many movies did we buy that? We probably like 26 movies that trip.
I'm going to get off topic a little bit here.
Yeah.
Just because, people who love horror movies as much as we do look forward to things that are called a horror flea market. If I wanted to go to the basement of some bar that smells like piss, I'd just stay here.
Are you saying that it smells like piss here?
I go to a Pittsburgh bar. Why'd we drive 80 miles to go to one that's...
Because we heard it was going to be like a horror flea market.
And what do I want to call those? But I mean, there are people practically LARPing and horror, get-ups and stuff. I didn't go to see that.
Every time I go to a convention, I'm reminded of
why we stay home sometimes.
I know, I'm reminded of there, but for the grace of God go I. Because at some point, I could have said, I don't want any contact with the rest of the world. And girls are really hard to talk to. So I'm just going to get super deep into Fulci movies. And I did that until I was 24. And then after that, I said, I would like to see what two penises together in a Y look like. I would like to see what, call back to episode 2. I would like to see what a girl looks like. A real girl. I would like to...
A real one. Stress real one.
A real one. I would like to talk to people. I would like to... I can share my love of movies with people.
So you don't want to be a shut-in when you're 70?
No. But every time I go to a convention, I try to avoid eye contact with people because I know the minute I do, or if I wear a shirt that if, God forbid, anyone wants to talk about, and because you do have to pick your shirts to wear to a convention, I do admit, people are wearing a House by the Cemetery shirt, very important movie. And I'm like, yes, I've seen it like a million times.
I obviously like it, and then you walk away.
But I can't, because then I feel bad.
You start talking to them. That's where your wife comes in and says, I have to poop. We have to go.
Oh, I love you. We went to the Flashback convention, and my wife has, if you don't know her, she has a large sleeve of Big Trouble in Little China and tons of horror movie tattoos. And on her forearm, gigantic on her forearm, is a tattoo of the anti-god from Prince of Darkness. It's a giant green tube, and inside the anti-god is a devil face of Hello Kitty. It's
with little horns.
With little horns. It's my favorite tattoo. There were so many dudes that upon seeing this were like, attractive girl, John Carpenter tattoo. Strange John Carpenter movie, not a lot of people know. And then they realized that she had several other John Carpenter tattoos, as well as a tattoo of Hello Kitty dressed as the tall man from Phantasm. And really, it was a bad scene. She had to be whisked from the auditorium.
Whisked.
She was not whisked from the auditorium. But that's it.
And then I was held against my will at Ron Fitzgerald's.
Oh, should we tell that story before we start this? Because I
don't think anyone could ever... No one will ever feel the way I felt for that. How long were we there?
So let's set up.
20 minutes.
Flashback is a great convention. This last year was everybody except for John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. Just
about that was involved in Halloween 1. It was
all the Halloweens mainly.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It was like a full Halloween convention.
They even had some other Rob Zombie people there.
And it was great. Everybody was really, really nice. It was really accommodating. The first night
I got my pictures with everyone I could have ever imagined.
And the first night we got to go to a concert.
Alan Howarth.
Alan Howarth played a concert with the movies running in the background. Now, the one bad thing that happened is whoever set up the projectors didn't know how to set up a projector. So behind him, as the movie should have been playing, they weren't. So he had to stop a few times, and he didn't seem too pleased. That said,
he's a professional.
He's a professional. I mean, but he was awesome. When he played the theme from Big Trouble,
it took everything he had not to say, wait a minute, you jackasses who that's up.
So that room was just bad luck, I think. That big auditorium. So,
I thought I was going to die in that room.
Yeah, so the second day, the Saturday that we were
Sadness.
there. The Saturday was great. Because Saturday, we were at the conventional day. We met all sorts of, our heroes. We got to talk to Nick Castle. It was really cool. And if you're into Halloween, you'll understand how much that means. It was...
I couldn't talk.
Yeah, Becca cried.
I hid behind my husband like a baby.
Like a baby.
I peered over his shoulder and I said, I've been waiting to meet this person my whole life, and now I can't do it.
Who were you most excited to meet?
All of them.
Tom Atkins
and I have heat, okay? We have personal heat.
Heat in a good way, not in wrestling heat.
No, I don't talk that language.
You love him.
Yes. We've run into each other several times in Pittsburgh.
One time my wife was in the Liberty Tunnels, which is the most traffic in town, and her car broke down in the middle of the tunnels. They had to tow her out of the tunnel. She called me crying from a Starbucks and then said, "Oh my God, Tom Atkins is here, bye." And she ran over to talk to him. I thought she was dying. I thought the car was wrecked. I was completely freaked out. And then she called me crying that she had seen Tom Atkins and couldn't talk to him. So we talked to him at the show. He introduced us to everybody. He's like, this is Sam and Becca. They came the whole way from Pittsburgh. They're on their honeymoon. It was pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. And then we got to see Halloween 1 with all the people that worked on it. I got to hear about the cinematography, which delighted me to no end to find out about how they did the Steadicam shots. And then the worst thing ever happened. So there's a new reissue of Manos: The Hands of Fate where they cleaned it. Why would they clean up this movie?
I liked it the way it was. But anyways, I never got to see it.
Because they were showing it at 11 o'clock. So Becca and I rushed back. We got a bunch of beer. And we rushed back because we had already had a few beers when we watched Halloween.
I should have drank more.
And so we got there. And they said, before the film starts, we have a magician. Ron Fitzgerald. Now, earlier in the night, we saw Ron Fitzgerald's mom drop him off in a minivan. I
can't even describe this person to you listeners. I can't.
Imagine if Aleister Crowley
No.
got peed on. And that pee turned into a human.
I think of... Oh, I don't even know. If if Pinhead didn't have the pins in him... and was 80 years old, hunchback, walked with a cane. He had the same outfit on.
Do you know he lives in Pittsburgh now?
Who?
Doug Bradley.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Ron Fitzgerald, because if you did, we're moving.
No, he just randomly shows up at, like, Gooskies and hangs out and stuff. People are like, weren't you in Cradle of Filth? And he's like, you called. We came. Like, if he said that to me, it's kind of like when I worked with Candyman, a story for a later podcast. So we were all excited to see Manos: The Hands of Fate. This whole auditorium filled with people. And this dude comes out. He looked like, what was whenever they did Goth Talk on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, he looked like those people.
Alistair.
And just as sad.
Yeah, he looked like him, but imagine if they shaved his head. And we had seen this guy all the last couple days at the convention.
We just thought he was one of those weirdos that dresses up and,
He had, like, the Aussie rings on with, like, the little claw rings. And he just sat in the corner looking sinister.
He had a cane with a dead bird on it.
Yeah. So...
that was not because you limp. That was for looks.
So it's 2016. And he was like, all his music was from the late 90s, like second album, Marilyn Manson kind of stuff. And he did very basic magic tricks, like your everyday magic tricks, except...
It made me sad to the point where I wanted to cry. And I felt bad for them because that's the best thing they'll ever achieve. And they think they've made it.
Well, he had a bunch of girls. It
was like when you donate or help people and you feel good for that hour, but you know that they're going to go back to horrible things the next day. I just imagine this person's house. Where did the world go wrong?
So this guy comes out on stage and he's like, hello, everyone.
That's exactly how he talks.
My name is Ron Fitzgerald.
Like Gargamel from fucking Smurfs.
And tonight... I'm going to do magic for you, but first, let me bring out my lovelies. And he brought this girls.
Who were wearing the collection from Hot Topic from 1998.
It looked like trashy lingerie, but
Bondage store had a sale.
But not the store trashy lingerie.
No.
Trashy lingerie. So they came out, and the one's name was She-Cat. Was it She-Cat?
She's stupid.
Bonnie Bones.
Bonnie Bones.
And he kept introducing them, screaming their names at the top of his lungs. And he did, like, magic tricks with them, but they were, like, very simple magic tricks that you could buy at any magic store.
At Toys R Us.
Trust me, my brother and I did magic as every other kid did when we were a kid. We did the scotch and soda. We did all the different routines, and we would practice them. And then my brother would show them to me. I'd be like, yeah, I know how the trick works. No, you have to be my audience. And, like, we would just do them over and over again. And then whenever any company came over, we'd be like, oh, we could do the magic tricks for them. What we're going to be, David Copperfield.
David Copperfield.
But Ron Fitzgerald, unlike everybody else, like Noah and I discovered drinking at some point, and that there was an outside world. I discovered sitting in your room with a guitar and playing metal songs while you drink, I think, and drawing comic books. But, we didn't do magic anymore. Ron Fitzgerald never stopped doing magic, and he discovered that if he looked kind of creepy, there are girls that have model mayhem pages that like pose for Hot Topic photo spreads. I don't know what the deal is. The whole thing's just super creepy. So then the highlight of the whole thing is, and he's like, hey, everybody, are you having fun? And the thing is, like, okay, one, I'd like to apologize to everybody that's offended by my swearing. I swear because it's how I feel. I don't swear to get for effect. And he was not getting a reaction from the crowd. So he was like, yeah! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! Come on, everybody, say fuck with me! There were like kids who were like 11 there. And I was like just so offended that this guy was up there. And so anyway, he did this trick. I've seen other magicians do it before. Penn and Teller used to do something like it, where you get like 12 straight razor blades, and you put them together on a string, and you swallow them, and you pull them back out of your mouth. I'm not here to profess to you how this trick gets done, or I can do this trick, but I've seen this trick done a million times. The problem is, as he was setting up the trick,
he was bleeding everywhere.
He cut his thumb on one of the razor blades, and in a normal world as a performer, like I play in bands and I wrestle and I do stuff, you don't let on to the audience that you screwed up, because then the audience will just either eat you alive.
This was visible, not him telling us.
But I mean, this was like, he was spurting blood to the point that I thought it was part of his routine. That, oh, he's one of those comedy magicians like the Amazing Jonathan, where he's like, oh, look, I've sprung a leak. And he kept saying stuff like that. And then he stopped the trick and he was like, I'm sorry. Does anybody in the audience, this beautiful, lovely audience, have a Band-Aid? Does anyone have a Band-Aid? And people were like digging in their purses. So people brought up Band-Aids for him. And then he would just keep bringing up how he's like, I can swallow 12 razor blades, but one of them touches my fingers and I bleed everywhere. So Manos was supposed to start at 11. It was 12:30. And
I said, we're going back to the
I've never
room.
seen my wife so upset in my entire life. And she said, that's it. We're leaving. We're getting out of here. And we left, and I'm sure he played for another hour. I'm sure they like paused Manos and he came up and he did another little routine or something. It was horrible.
I felt like I was held hostage for days.
And then he's made movies.
I was about to call my family and tell them to call the police to come get us.
He's made some movies. He made...
Let me explain to you about these
movies.
movies.
The adult Dracula.
Adult my ass. When did he get the girl from 7-Eleven? The girl from...
Oh, lovely. Oh, it is the man himself. Bring me a kitten. Or perhaps a fool cat.
You might reckon if you're from where Ron Fitzgerald's from.
He's going to be back there this year.
Where is he from?
He's from Dark Side Chicago.
Oh, of course, the dark side.
Yeah.
Check your local
from Schaumburg.
convenience stores and discount
He's from
clothing retailers to find these girls. That's where they work.
He's from Skokie. They're from Hot Topic. They're managers, though. They're not like rank and file Hot Topic.
I worked for Hot Topic. I know how much managers get paid.
Yeah.
Nothing.
They get to go out to California for that one convention.
Yeah.
That's about it. All about the music.
From what
Hot
I
Topic.
understand, too, they're not even doing it anymore.
No.
Yeah.
How are they still in business? Spencer's barely struggles. How do they stay in business?
I don't know how any of those stores make it.
How are Spencer's and Hot Topic still open at Century 3, yet Macy's closed?
The weirdo shop.
The weirdo shop there.
Yeah.
Someone's going to buy
they
those.
can be with other weirdos because all the normal people don't even go there anymore.
How many Funko Pops are in Ron Fitzgerald's house? I have the...
And he probably has, like, the weird ones, too.
I can't wait to go see Finding Dory. So, next year, when we go, I'm going to interview Ron Fitzgerald and be like, you should come on our podcast. Ron? Yes. Would you like to do an interview with us? Oh, yes, certainly. If I say, you should listen to our podcast, what episode should I start with? And I'm like,
this one.
You should really start with The House That Dripped Blood. And then he'll listen to it like, oh, I can't wait till they speak about me. And then whenever we start talking about him, his smile will turn upside down.
And he'll swallow razor blades. And maybe...
Oh, I seem to have sprung a leak up here on the stage. You know what? As long as this story took to tell you about him, imagine if it went on and on and on and on. And every once in a while, he would bring one of these girls out, and they did a dance from Repo the Genetic Opera. And there, of course, there was a lot of Rocky Horror played. The only thing that Becca and I have ever seen worse on stage was we got conned into going to see a live on stage whatever. You know how they do the Rocky Horror thing? They did it for Phantom of Paradise, which is one of my favorite movies ever. And Becca stood up 3/4 through and said, "This is over," and just walked out. And I sat there with my friend Zach, and he said, "Your wife left." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What do you think she's doing right now?" I said, "Angrily smoking a cigarette, waiting for one of these people to tell them how bad it was."
Exactly.
So
I've just never seen, like I said, and I'll say it again. Don't you remember my discussion with you on that, though? How I felt that some of those people that were performing were mentally challenged.
do you think that my wife said loudly in front of these people?
Yeah.
They were a row away. Do you think they let some of these people out for the night so that they could do this? And then they'll go back tomorrow. She wasn't even to have a beer in her. When my wife has a few beers in her, she's even more honest. My wife, sober, incredibly honest, said, I was sure that girl wouldn't take her shirt off. And I was so upset when she did.
I didn't.
There was no need for nudity.
Number one, I don't think. Did we pay to even see that?
Yeah, we did.
We paid.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that part.
You know what?
So how much did we pay?
It was like $20 probably. It's like $10 a ticket. The things we do for our friends.
If Zach ever listens to this, just know that we love you because that
Zach
vision,
had a worse night than us.
That vision, no, that vision is that forever in my brain, forever. I can see it right now. Thank you for reminding me. No,
because when Zach got there, they said, make sure to keep the volume down, which is the worst thing you can ever say to Zach. Zach's all about volume. And his hair, and his amp, is about volume. No, because you know what? When I was 16, I thought, I can't wait to see girls naked. And that night I said, I wish these girls would put their shirts back on. And really, that is a horrible turn of events.
I can't.
No.
I can't, because, I mean, it's not even about... So these girls were a little chubby. Some of them. There were some that had nothing, and some that had a lot. And it's not about fat shaming or she's too skinny or whatever. I don't know.
At least they weren't doing...
I think I was more upset for them than for me. How they perceive themselves and what you actually see. And I would hope to hell that if I ever did something like that and it didn't look good... And I'm not saying you have to be, Kim Kardashian and whatnot. But if it looked real bad... I wished that someone would tell me.
It was a bunch of people with rock band guitars stand up on stage ruining one of Brian De Palma's verses.
The fact that the scary people sitting behind us were probably you-know-what. Like, I can't even.
I wish that Brian De Palma would have killed everybody in that theater. I really wish the Phantom was real and he killed all of them as they came out. Say, no one can act my movie but Spawn.
The Phantom wasn't real. It was a chubby blonde kid from Dormont.
Oh my God. Well, at least they weren't doing a stage simulcast of tonight's movie. See how I turned that around?
Thank you.
The House of Drip Blood.
Because now I'm all upset because all these memories.
So we're going to come back. Now... If you were one of the kids who were in that play, you've stopped listening. If you were
one of the kids in that play, hopefully you're doing something better with your lives.
Well, they are. They're listening to our podcast, and they're getting ready to watch The House That Dripped Blood. We got it at odds, in case you're looking for it and you're in Pittsburgh. But it's somewhat easy to find, I think.
If you're one of those kids from that play, my husband and I will be around for some adult mentoring if you feel you need. I will take you to the mall. I will take you anywhere your heart's desire. Because I do things for the community.
My wife will. I will not.
Yes, you will.
No, I won't. Because they'll be like, do you want to play Magic with me? We'll play Magic and I'll cast my mana cards and we'll tap our mana.
You know what that means? You're speaking a different language.
I know. It's Magic the Gathering. That's what I'm speaking about.
I'm so glad I married a past gamer.
I'll have to. I never played Magic. I played Dungeons and Dragons. I just rolled. I have a perfect 18 charisma, which means I can seduce you at any time. Except
you're lucky you seduced me before you told me that.
I rolled perfect charisma roll.
I'm glad you didn't tell me that on the first night we met. That I have an 18 charisma and then had to explain it to me.
I'm a cleric. I am a chaotic neutral cleric. Formerly, I played a lawful good paladin. And really, I'm just here in the world just searching for loot.
This is how people get divorced.
I'm not going to...
Searching for loot.
I'm not searching for loot. You know, fuck those loot crates, dude. I hate those fucking things.
All right.
All right. Now we're going to watch the first part. We'll be back with the... after segment 1 of The House That Dripped Blood.
Way down in old Virginia, 300 years ago, Captain John Smith and Pocahontas shot their meat and aged it slow. They smoked it and they spiced it too for flavor at its best. Genuine Smithville barbecue surpasses all the rest.
Yes, folks, it's 300 years of tradition and taste you savor when you ask for a Smithfield barbecue James River brand at our refreshment center. In each flavorful morsel of meat, you can smell the hickory, oak, and applewood and taste the rare herbs and spices required for its cure. Here is truly a fresh new taste from an ancient recipe.
Go for deep down flavor of the Smithfield country kind. Just step right up to your neighbor, find your taste, and lose your mind. Yeah!
So we just finished watching the first story. So let's discuss it.
Yes.
Denham Elliott is
He plays a writer.
Plays a writer who's like a horror film writer. He specializes in murder. Some of the most horrible things, as his wife says. Gruesome. His wife just wants to live in London, but he falls in love with the house, especially because it has a lot of books about witches in it, and a book called House of Death. Mm-hmm. Starts writing a book and says that he's come up with this character named Dominic. And
He's a strangler.
He's a strangler, and he loves Dominic. Thinks Dominic's great. Character just came to him. He has a drawing of him. And so he starts writing about Dominic, and he keeps seeing him outside the window. And then more and more he sees Dominic more and more throughout his life. Or almost Dominic's haunting him. And his wife says, "You tried to strangle me. You need to see a doctor." Mm-hmm. So he keeps going to the doctor, and he feels like he's going more and more insane. Until while he's at his doctor's office, late one night, Dominic appears and kills his doctor. Cut back to the house where Dominic comes to kill the wife, but no.
He takes off his mask.
And he is the lover of the wife, who's an actor, and he keeps going on about how no one thought he was a good actor. Mm-hmm. No one thought there was enough of him in his roles. And Scotland Yard calls, says, "Your husband's dead, and his doctor's dead. They're both strangled." And she goes, "That wasn't part of the plan." And she says to the actor, she goes, "You know, you're not supposed to do that. Now they're going to be looking for you." She says his name. He goes, "That's not me. I'm Dominic.
My name's Dominic."
And he starts choking her. What a twist. Do you think Robert Bloch based this on his life?
Maybe.
As a writer, the writers have to be a bit crazy. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't know anything about that.
You already are crazy.
We also learned from some research here that Denham Elliott was married twice. Mm-hmm. First marriage was an open marriage because he was bisexual. Mm-hmm. His second marriage was not, but he died of AIDS-related pneumonia. Mm-hmm. And his wife started a major foundation for people living with AIDS and ran it through the 80s before she died. Mm-hmm. And 90s. So a little interesting background in his life. He also appeared in several movies by director Michael Winner, who did Death Wish, who was notorious for being a horrible director to work with. He's one of the few actors to ever appear twice in one of his movies. Mm-hmm. And Gabriel Byrne, another fan, my wife's favorites, I should say, said that you should never be in movies with children or Denham Elliott or animals because they'll all steal the scene from you. Because he was such a good actor. He thought he was an amazing actor. That was a pretty good beginning to this, and there's some good twists. I think the interesting thing to all the Amicus movies is that, especially for a movie called The House That Dripped Blood, there is no blood in a lot of this movie yet. But a great beginning. Hopefully you have purchased this or you found it and you watched it and you're really excited for the next part. We are too.
Yes.
So the second segment is about a wax museum that Peter Cushing falls in love with. because
Literally.
because a girl he was in love with who looks just like her.
It was a wax figure.
Wax figure. And everybody that sees this wax figure sees whoever their past love was and falls in love with it. Well, Joss Ackland is in it. He's a bad guy from the Lethal Weapon movies. He was in Bill and Ted. You'd recognize him right away. He's usually bald. He's not bald in this. He comes. He also sees a girl that he was in love with, and he can't even leave the town anymore. So Peter Cushing comes down to tell him, chill. Not in those words. He doesn't use that vernacular. And when he gets there, his friend's head is turned into wax, and it's on. The woman is Salome, the girl who cut the head off of John the Baptist.
Yeah.
So finally, Peter Cushing attempts to stop the guy who owns the wax museum. The axe hits the girl, and we realize her skeleton is underneath it. He had
embalmed her.
He had killed his best friend and blamed her for it, so he could keep her, because men were always attracted to her, but even in death, she still attracted men. So Peter Cushing has a really active fight scene. I always thought of him as not being that spry, but
reserved.
But he totally is in this. And then finally, his head is cut off, and his head is in place of the man's. So this story is pretty simple, really quick too. It kind of flew, but I think this one's pretty good. I think anything with Peter Cushing's awesome, so I'm a big fan. I thought I would share with you some Peter Cushing facts I thought were interesting. If you would like to hear them, would you like to hear them?
I would. So,
one, he was made an officer in the Order of the British Empire. Which I thought was pretty interesting. He was a painter, and he wrote an illustrated children's book at one point, and he was a patron of the Vegetarian Society. He was Christopher Lee's best friend. And
that makes sense.
Christopher Lee said, I don't want to sound gloomy, but at some point in your life, every one of you will notice that you have in your life one person, one friend whom you love and care for very much. This will be hard to read. That person is so close to you that you're able to share some things only with him. For example, you can call that friend, and from the very first maniacal laugh or some other joke, you know who's at the other end of the line. And we used to do that often. And then when that person is gone, there's nothing like that person in your life ever again. I thought that was really nice.
It was very nice.
Yeah. So when Peter Cushing was cast in 1976 in Star Wars as Grand Moff Tarkin, he was presented with ill-fitting riding boots, and they pinched his feet so much that he said to George Lucas, if you want me to be in this movie, I'm not wearing these riding boots. I'll only wear my slippers. So if you ever notice, Grand Moff Tarkin is never shown above the knees.
So he's wearing slippers.
I imagine he was wearing bunny slippers. Alec Guinness hated being in Star Wars. Peter Cushing loved it. He really appreciated the renewed interest in his work from young fans, and his only regret about being in Star Wars was that he died in the first one and couldn't be in the sequels. But there's a new Star Wars movie coming.
He's a bad guy, right?
Yeah, he's one of the... he's like on the same level as Darth Vader in it. But when they make the next Star Wars movie, Rogue One, it's the Star Wars anthology movies, he's going to be in it as Moff Tarkin, digitally created.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And then, finally, I thought this was really interesting about Peter Cushing. We've talked about it before. When his wife died, he kind of dropped out of a lot of stuff for a long time. And he said in an interview, since Helen, that was his wife, passed on, I can't find anything. The heart, quite simply, has gone out of everything. Time is interminable. The loneliness is almost unbearable. And the only thing that keeps me going is the knowledge that my dear Helen and I will be reunited again someday. To join her is my only ambition. You have my permission to publish that. It's just killing time. Please tell everybody that. So he actually said that when she died, the night she died, he had a nervous breakdown. And he ran up and down the steps of his house in the hopes that he would have a heart attack and join her. A couple of days after she died, though, he found a poem that said, don't die until you live your life to the full, and if you kill yourself, you have let me down. That's how close he was. So he was very Christian, and he believed that his separation with his wife was temporary. But in all his movies after that, for example, the Satanic Rites of Dracula, if you see Van Helsing's desk, he has a photo of her. And he often plays a man who lost family, like in Tales from the Crypt, Asylum, The Ghoul, Creeping Flesh. He actually had a strain of roses created that is named after her. The Helen Cushing rose is named after her. But he had lost so much weight and aged so visibly because of his grief after her death that when he is in Dracula 72, he was supposed to be the father of Stephanie Beacham's character. They made him the grandfather because
he didn't look like
yeah.
it.
So he actually wasn't as old as he seemed. Another crazy thing about him was he died of colon cancer or prostate cancer, and he had it for 12 years. He was diagnosed in 1982. He died in 1994, and near the end of his life, he was finally picked for the OBE. So he was Sir Peter Cushing. Interesting enough, he played several roles that he's kind of completely identified with, such as Baron Frankenstein, Sherlock Holmes, and Dr. Van Helsing. And he's also one of the few people to play Doctor Who not on the TV show. He was Doctor Who in the Amicus produced movies. Doctor Who in the Daleks and Doctor Who Invasion Earth 2150 AD. So, just a little bit about Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
What did you think about this segment?
I liked it.
You liked it?
Yeah.
So you ready to move on to the next one?
I am.
Okay, then we're about to move on. There's only...
You didn't ask me what I learned.
Oh, okay. Sweets to the Sweet is the next one. What did you learn?
That my husband needs to own a scarf.
Oh my gosh. We need to talk about that. Everybody in this one had on
scarves?
ascots or scarves.
It was the swing. What year is this supposed to be?
1971. It says
think
70
it's
in the
like
credits.
60s.
It says 70. Well, I always think of certain sections of London are a little bit behind the times. They're like the Pittsburgh of London. Everybody in this was dressed so well. I think Peter Cushing has like 4 outfits on in this 15-minute thing.
They used to use an iron. I don't think anybody even owns an iron
Peter
anymore.
Cushing, that's why British dudes had butlers. Because they're like... I'm not going to do my... You want me to do my British accent? Jolly old spot. Why don't you go? It's more Australian. Wait, hold on.
You sound like a kangaroo. If a kangaroo
Tying me kangaroo down. Hey, governor. Why don't you go on my suit?
Please stop.
Why don't you go on my suit? Come on.
You sound like a cowboy.
Hey, governor. Why don't you go iron my suit, pilgrim?
Pilgrim.
Did you ever see the movie The Greatest Show Ever Told? The Greatest Story Ever Told?
No.
It's about Jesus.
Oh. That makes sense.
And it has all these different, it's like, they made the 10 Commandments and Ben-Hur and the robe. So these like sandal, and scripture movies were really big.
Yes.
Late 50s, early 60s, and they would bring around on Easter and stuff. So The Greatest Story Ever Told is like the most cheesy tie-in of them. Do you know what I mean? They did everything they could to, it's very much, you can tell it's a cash grab. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, it's really always picked as one of the worst movies ever. That's how I learned about it from the Golden Turkey Awards. So I'll tell you some of the people in it, because it's amazing. It's like movies don't happen like that anymore, where there's so many. What do you call them?
I can see it.
Yeah, so I'll tell you who's in it. I'm loading it up right now because my favorite. There's one part at the end that's my favorite thing, and this kind of ties into Salome, because Salome in this story cut off John the Baptist's head. So in this, Max von Sydow, Ming the Merciless is Jesus.
Oh.
Yeah. Victor Buono is Sorak, which is, remember from the Bible. Richard Conte is Barabbas. Jose Ferrer is Herod. Charlton Heston is John the Baptist.
Chuck.
Martin Landau is Caiaphas, and Angela Lansbury is Claudia.
I love all of them. It's like an old people parade.
Pat Boone is the angel at the tomb.
I didn't.
David McCollum, who was from The Man from U.N.C.L.E., is Judas. Roddy McDowall is Matthew. Sal Mineo is Uriah. Donald Pleasance is Satan. I know. Sidney Poitier is Simon of Cyrene.
Is he black?
Yes.
Okay.
Claude Rains, the Invisible Man, plays King Herod. Telly Savalas is Pontius Pilate.
Are we going to watch this?
Oh my God. Shelley Winters is the woman who is healed.
How long is this movie?
It's like 4 hours long.
Oh, no.
Michael Ansara is Herod's commander. Robert Blake is Simon. Let's see who else is in it. Jamie Farr is Thaddeus. Robert Loggia is Joseph. there's so many good people in it. Like, it just gets crazy of how many people are in it. But my favorite person in the whole movie, so after Jesus gets crucified and everything, all this lightning hits and the stone explodes and all this crazy stuff happens. And the Roman centurion walks up and you see him from the back. And the Roman centurion stabs Jesus in the side. And he looks and he shakes his head. And holy shit, it's John Wayne.
What?
And everybody else in the movie, like, they do a pretty good job of making them look like they're from that area. Do you know what I mean?
No, he just looks like John Wayne.
He's literally John Wayne dressed up like a Roman centurion. He goes, "Surely this man was the Son of God." It totally takes you out of the movie. It's great. It literally, people like waited because John Wayne's name is like third from the top on the poster.
Yeah.
People are like, "Who's John Wayne gonna be? He might be Jesus." Nope. He plays a Roman centurion. But Donald Pleasance as Satan is inspired casting. And I think we should do a special next year for Easter episode of The Greatest Story Ever Told.
Yeah.
If we can suffer through it.
I'll have you to suffer through it with.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
So, we learned...
A whole week of Jesus movies during Easter.
Oh, man. We should do...
You can watch The Preacher's Wife. You can watch anything. Sister Act.
Seventh Seal.
Seventh Sign.
Seventh Seal.
Sign.
That's the Seventh Seal because they break the seals?
That's what they break, but it's called The Seventh Sign.
The Seventh Seal is the Bergman movie. That's what I'm thinking of, where the guy has to play chess against death. Which Josh Acklin made is in a movie that makes fun of it, Bill and Ted 2, because they played death all the games like Twister and football. And that's based on that movie. The Seventh Sign, not as good as the Seventh Seal.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not, baby.
Demi Moore.
Demi Moore.
What's his name? I can't think of his name from...
Dermot Mulroney.
No. The one... He was in Terminator. Who played...
Michael Biehn?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Couldn't think of his name.
Oh, yeah, all those fish wash up. And
then Jurgen... I can't pronounce his
Bronson
name.
Pinchot?
Close.
There come a surge, I make the lemon water.
No.
Do you remember the movie that Bronson Pinchot made with the dude from Dan Larroquette from Night Court, where he was a psychic? Second Sight?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, don't tell me what it is. I know it.
I bet that movie's not out on DVD.
It.
I bet it's not out on DVD.
A value video it is.
I bet that movie, if I watched it today... We had a discussion today at work, which I wanted to ask you about. Have you ever loved a movie when you were a kid, and you go back and watch it later, and you realize that it's really dated and it doesn't hold up to what you thought it would be?
No.
No. Because you never stopped watching the movies. I think a lot of people, like, if they have a favorite movie when they're kids...
They grew up, I didn't.
They grow out of it, and they stop watching it. Like, there's no time in my life where more than 3 months has gone by when I have not watched Flash Gordon. Therefore, Flash Gordon never seems cheesy to me.
No.
I went and saw Flash Gordon at the Warhol with Sloss and my friend Jeff. Not Jeff I work with, but another Jeff. And for years, he'd been making fun of us about watching Flash Gordon. He goes, that movie's so cheesy, it's so stupid. And I said to him, if you make it through the football fight scene, it gets awesome. Like, the football fight's stupid, but the rest of the movie is really great. The costumes are great. It's not...
It's great.
It's awesome. And it's awesome because it's not a great movie, but it's an awesome movie because it's the most entertaining movie. And I'm sure we'll have a 3-episode Flash Gordon breakdown of why it's so great. But he made it through that, and then right at the scene where Clytus lands and they have the big fight on the spikes, he looked at me and he's like, this movie is awesome. I'm like, I've been telling you for like 20 years how great this movie is. And
no, I used to curl up on the couch with cats or pets or puppies. Now watch a movie with a blanket, snuggle.
That's what you're doing right now.
And that's what I do to this day and would do for a living if I was allowed.
Well, I think we're working on it.
I know.
So
now I have someone to do it with.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say. So are you ready to get back into the house that dripped blood?
Yes.
There's no blood in the house.
Not yet.
Like 2 dudes got beheaded, no blood.
Well, if there's no blood, we'll poke you and you can bleed.
If you prick me, do I not bleed?
Yes, you do.
Is that Shakespeare?
I don't know.
All right.
You're asking me if something's Shakespeare?
You probably know more Shakespeare than you think.
Quiet, Wicked Watermelon.
No, you saw 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah, I know
The
the Julia
Shakespeare.
Stiles version of
Yes,
Shakespeare.
well, that's more than most people. If Shakespeare was here now, today, he'd say,
He'd be dating Julia
where,
Stiles.
where art Julia Stiles? What hath she done
Who knows?
of late,
Nothing.
of import?
Nothing.
What hath she done? Can I ask you one question about 10 things I hate about you before we get back into this? Did you love what's his name in it?
Heath Ledger.
Did you love Heath Ledger?
No, I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Really?
Yes.
Cobra Commander.
Yes.
I think when Heath Ledger was in that, I thought of him as like a...
He didn't look attractive to me in that. I thought he was more attractive as the Joker in Batman.
Well, he seemed like a big dude, like a...
He doesn't look like he's in high school.
He seemed like a big kind of muscular guy, and then he never seemed like that again.
Because he cut his hair and then he went...
Cowboy.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to quit being the Joker.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to start this back up. We've been threatening to. And now we'll come through with our promise. We'll see you on the other side. So Christopher Lee has a daughter that he takes to the countryside. He doesn't allow her to be around any other kids. He hires someone to teach his daughter. And his daughter is not allowed to play with any toys.
Because she's not a normal kid.
Nope. She's
a witch, baby.
She's a witch, just like her mom.
Who was burned. That's why she's afraid of fire.
Yeah. And there's a pretty crazy scene here where Christopher Lee just cold cocks his daughter. Mm-hmm. And that leads to her stabbing a voodoo doll of him in the chest. Mm-hmm. And then setting the voodoo doll on fire. The thing that's weird about this movie is, unlike Tales from the Crypt, which are, of course, based on the EC comic stories, they have a very easy to figure out beginning, middle, and end. Mm-hmm. These stories just kind of happen. Mm-hmm. They're creepy, and they're good, but they just kind of happen.
They're all different, too.
Yeah. So Christopher Lee is quite dapper in this, as he always is. Mm-hmm. I found out some interesting things about Christopher Lee. Did you know he was in the Special Forces in World War II? No. As was John Pertwee, who was in the next scene. But all he would say is, I was in the SAS, but I'm not allowed to discuss any specific operations. Mm-hmm. But when he did Lord of the Rings, there's one scene where someone got stabbed, and the director was explaining to him the noises someone makes when they get stabbed. And he said, no, when someone gets stabbed, they sound like all the air is rushing out of their lungs. And they said, how would you know? And he goes, have you ever stabbed a man in the lungs before? I have. Crazy, right?
It is.
So he really didn't like being in the Hammer movies. He felt like he was blackmailed to be in them. He really didn't like the poor dialogue that he got in some of the movies. So he said, this is how every movie would go. He would get a phone call, and his agent would say that the president of Hammer's on the phone. They want you to do Dracula. And he'd say, I don't want to do another Dracula. They'd say, well, they have all these people and all these different, jobs on the line. If you don't do it, no one has a job. Can I tell you one other thing about Christopher Lee, and then we'll move on?
Yes.
Ian Fleming is his step-cousin.
Who's Ian Fleming?
Who created James Bond. And had offered him the role of Dr. No. Christopher Lee was a big James Bond fan. Yeah. But by the time Fleming told the producers, they already chose someone else. So he was eventually in The Man with the Golden Gun as Scaramanga. John Carpenter had originally offered the role of Dr. Loomis to both Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee before Donald Pleasance took the role. Mm-hmm. And years later, when Christopher Lee met John Carpenter, he told him the biggest regret of his entire career was not taking that role.
Exactly. So he could be doing the conventions now. He'd be set for life.
Well, he's dead.
I know, but you know what I mean.
He'd be set for death. Shh. I actually prefer Donald Pleasance in the role.
Yeah.
So we're going to watch the last part, and then we'll be right back. So the last story.
Yes.
John Pertwee was in it. Former Doctor Who. Ingrid Pitt. It was about vampires. Mm-hmm. John Pertwee was an actor. He was in a film. The film was pretty shitty, and he was looking for a better cloak. So he went to a tailor.
He was playing a Dracula character.
Yes. And
no, he didn't go to a tailor. He went to a
costume store.
Yes.
And his movie was called
sold props and things like that.
Did you see the name of the movie he was in? Revenge of the Bloodsucker.
Yes.
So, and the man who sold him a prop sold him his vampire's cape.
So the shop owner was a former vampire.
Yes.
And only could finally rest in peace when he gave away his vampire's cloak. So he gave it to him.
Meanwhile, Ingrid Pitt ends up being a vampire all along. Even though she was in the sunlight in the beginning of it, but I guess maybe all vampires are daywalkers, like Blade.
Like Blade.
She's like, we've enjoyed your movies for so long. Why don't you become one of us?
She said it just like that, too.
And then she came and she bit him. And Ingrid Pitt was an inspiring casting choice for this movie. She played Carmilla in The Vampire Lovers, and she's the title role in Countess Dracula, based on Elizabeth Bathory, and she has a real small part in The Wicker Man. She wrote a ton of books in the 90s and 2000s. Ingrid Pitt's Bedside Companions. She wrote one, The Bedside Companion for Ghost Hunters, The Bedside Companion for Vampire Lovers, and Ingrid Pitt's book of murder, torture, and depravity. She also lived with Indians in Colorado for quite some time.
I bet she did.
Yeah, and she...
I have something to tell you.
Yes?
I'm leaving you to go live on the reservation.
Oh.
Tina and I are going to learn the way of the land.
Okay.
We'll send you back a corn husk necklace.
Yeah, she narrated Cradle of Filth's Cruelty and the Beast album in character as Elizabeth Bathory. So Cradle of Filth are huge Hammer fans. So to have her in it was a big deal for them. She actually, during World War II, she was grew up in a concentration camp. She was born in Poland. She was born Ignosza Petrov in Warsaw, Poland.
I was going to say that's Russian.
She survived and in Berlin in the 50s, married an American soldier, moved to California. Her marriage failed. She returned to Europe, but after a small role in a film, she went to Hollywood where she worked as a waitress. She was very well known for her 60s and 70s horror work. Jon Pertwee, obviously, a little more comedic in this last scene. But this is my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really like the scene where she comes rising up and he's screaming and running up the steps. That's always the image that I would see whenever they talked about this movie in books when I was a kid.
My favorite's the Peter Cushing story.
The Peter Cushing story?
Mm-hmm.
So then, after all this, the cop is just being a dick. He's like, I'm going to go check out that house. And they're like, well, there's no power, it's dark, and a whole bunch of people have died there.
Probably shouldn't go alone.
And he's like, I don't go down to the street corner and knock the vampire fangs out of your mom's mouth. So why don't you just give me the keys? He gets the keys, and he goes. They shoot it day for night, so it looks a little weird. Mm-hmm. And he gets a giant...
It's a mid-afternoon evening.
He gets a giant... Well, it's always dark in England.
Oh, yes.
It's always raining. Always dark. Everybody... Also forgot, Jon Pertwee. Awesome ascot in the last scene. Also double forgot, the girl who made the wax models and killed her dad in that. She's John Collins' daughter in Tales from the Crypt. So anyways, the cop grabs this giant candelabra. He goes all through the house. And
it's a very big candelabra. It's not like one of those little ones you see everyone else carrying around in movies. Mm-hmm. It's probably the size of our dining room table.
It is gigantic. Also, third time forgot, you could see the cup from the Indiana Jones and the vampire's costume shop very briefly. Mm-hmm. So anyway, this cop gets the candelabra. He goes down the steps to the basement. We're like, don't go in the basement. He's like, guess what? There's another
door locked down here.
There's another basement. I'm going to go in that one too. And he gets locked in, and there's 2 coffins. He opens a coffin, and Jon Pertwee comes rising out of it. There's a scuffle. Jon Pertwee gets impaled on a stake, and he's dead. And the cop's like, whew. And at this point, they kind of like Benny Hilled this.
Yeah.
Because they sped the footage up. So it was like, and
it's on fast forward.
Yeah, it was like kind of fast forward. And then he looks, and the other coffin opens, and it's Ingrid Pitt. And she's like, ha, ha, ha.
I'm going to turn into a bat.
She turns into a bat, and he's screaming. And then...
That's that.
That's that. And then we break the fourth wall at the end. And the guy who's running the house is like, have you discovered the secret of the house? We probably shouldn't give away the secret of the house.
No, I'm not going to.
Maybe you could be the next tenant. I love when movies end with... It's exactly the same ending as Tales from the Crypt, where the Crypt Keeper says, these stories happen to them. who's next? And he looks right at the camera and goes, could it be you? Which is great. I imagine in England, a couple men...
People talk.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Or they were like, maybe it could be me. I don't know.
Let's go home and find out and go in our basement.
Let's go to the basement. I imagine every basement in London has bones in it.
They're made of bones.
They're made of bones. I think the basements are filled with rust and soot and dirt. Large...
Jack the Ripper things happen there.
Yeah, I think Yorkshire Terriers patrol all the basements.
Yes.
They raised Yorkshire Terriers, you know.
Yeah.
To kill. They were rat killers. They look really cute now.
I know.
There's pictures of ones that were like champion rat killers.
Oh,
And they would have like one eye. Because like the rats would go for their eyes and they're like, I'm a fighting dog. Like, you're the cutest dog ever.
He says, no, I'm a murderer.
I'm a murderer. Ange, what do you think about them? Our dog is sleeping.
He says, well, I'm a Pittsburgh bred.
So
He says, I kill cheeseburgers.
So what did
I kill bacon strips.
I eat a 5-year-old potato that I found behind the fridge.
Almost died tonight.
Tonight our dog found a 5-year-old potato, speaking of coming back from the dead. He had it in his mouth and fought me for it. I won, because he's a 15-pound dog. And then I yelled at him and scolded him and called him a bad dog, and then I felt bad.
Like you always do.
And I said, you're really a good dog. I'm sorry. I think all dogs want to hear is you're a good dog.
Yeah.
I think as a human being, I think all I want to hear is you're good. And I think, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I try to treat my dog as if I were a dog I'd like to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let him eat a 5-year-old potato.
No, you saved his life.
But then I'm going to tell him he's a good dog. Hopefully it's not a mixed message. So anyway, what did you think of the house that didn't drip blood?
My blood dripped on the inside.
Yeah.
For it. So there you go.
What did you get? What would you give this on a letter grade scale?
Well, this is kind of a cheater grade.
Yeah.
Because I'm comparing it to all the other AMICUS movies, which I've already seen.
Wait, compared against any other movie, what would you give it?
Any other movie?
Just like in the genre of movies, what would you give it? And then what would you give it against the other AMICUS movies?
Give it a B.
I'd give it a solid B.
Against the other AMICUS movies,
C.
it's probably my least favorite.
It's,
all the other ones are a little bit more shocking, and if you see them for the first time, you're like, what?
There's a lot of stuff.
This one I just watched, and I was like,
there's a lot of...
It's good, but I mean, it didn't shock me.
Well, it's like Tales from the Crypt is real disturbing.
Yeah.
Like, just think of the things that happen. One, Santa Claus kills a woman in front of her kids. That's the first story. Mm-hmm. Then,
don't give it away.
No, I know, but then I'll tell us some other things that happened in it. Mm-hmm. Death rides a motorcycle and forces a dude off the road. Mm-hmm. A man is filled with acid and can't die and burns.
There wasn't anything that exciting.
A hallway full of razor blades with all the lights out with dogs chasing you. I think Tales from the Crypt is much more intense.
That reminds me, we need to find a movie. It's called Buried Alive. It's the second one.
The sequel?
Yes.
With the guy who was in Gopher in Animal House?
What's his name? The bad guy in Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah.
Played her husband. And Jennifer Jason Leigh is in it too.
There's a sequel. Was it a TV movie sequel?
No. It might not be
Buried
Alive.
Buried Alive 2.
Yeah, we need to find that. And the guy who plays the bad guy in Ghostbusters 1 was in it too. He plays her lover. The redheaded guy who threatens to shut down Ghostbusters.
Oh.
I can never remember his name. But he plays the bad guy.
And it's Buried Alive 2.
Yes.
Same characters or all new characters?
I don't remember the first one.
Is it Buried Alive again?
Maybe.
Do you like when sequels don't use it too? But they're like... Or when they take something from the first movie and take it like Staying Alive as a sequel to Saturday Night Fever?
I don't like that one.
Even though Fiona Hughes dances with him in a satanic dance at the end of it?
Oh, yeah. It's the favorite part.
Yeah. There's, what's your favorite sequel title?
Halloween 2.
Halloween 2. Do you like...
Sometimes they come back. Again.
Again. ... again.
And then, but I do like it, like I was discussing earlier with you, 3 men and a little lady.
Yeah.
Of course it's 3 men and a little lady after 3 men and a little baby.
What if they had one little lady and 3 senile old men?
I would watch that too.
And she just changed their diapers for 2 hours.
I would watch it.
While Tom Selleck screams. How about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer?
Oh, those were horrible.
Really, I watched the first one. One night you fell asleep. And the TV was just on, and I'll just leave on whatever's next.
Towards the last one, I forgot what you did last summer.
I watched the first one. There are no real shocks in it. It's the shittiest whodunit because they do all this detective work to figure out who done it.
And it was dumb.
And it's all red herrings. Like, it's like a whole movie.
I like, what's her name in it, though? She plays that crazy woods woman.
Oh, yeah.
Anne Heche.
Anne Heche is great in it.
She's like, what? My daddy, my brother.
My brother. Oh, yeah. I really think in that movie,
hook.
I think that Anne Heche played her, they let her be herself.
I do, too. I think.
Do you remember when she just showed up after going to Coachella and just showed up at that lady's house and was screaming about how she was from another planet? Do you know?
And then she turned straight.
Do you know who she left? What
Who?
famous actor she left for Ellen?
Who?
Steve Martin.
Yeah, I remember that.
So when he made Bowfinger,
Yeah.
the one actress in Bowfinger that keeps sleeping with all the different actors to get ahead, that's supposed to be Anne Heche. Interesting. I edit out all the times I say that, so hopefully I edit that out.
What?
A lot of times I go, isn't that interesting? Interesting, huh? Wow, isn't that cool? Like, I'm sure people listening are like, yeah.
You're just because you're talking to me. You're allowed to do that.
I guess so. I would give this movie a B. B minus. But I love it, so a C when compared, C minus when compared to dealing with other AMICUS movies. I would go Tales from the Crypt, Asylum, Vault of Horror, Torture Garden way above this.
Yes.
I think maybe even Vault of Horror. I know Asylum is so good.
Asylum's really good.
It's
First
really,
time I ever saw it, I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah.
Because we watched it late at night, and I was just like, I have to find this movie one day again. I was so
Is that
worried
the one
I
with
was
the
gonna-
the earth pig recipe? Is that an Asylum?
No, that's the other one. That's the Donald Pleasance one.
Yeah, because I love that scene where like we made earth pig. I only wish your daughter was here to eat it. And the guy's eating his daughter. Some of the other AMICUS movies are just real sinister, dark. They're funny, but they're really dark. This one, it just felt kind of rushed, and it feels really short. Like it
felt real short, even though it took us
a while to watch it. It took us 3 nights,
days.
3 days to watch it because we were both tired, and we said, "Oh well." I certainly had the energy to watch through the whole one, and then we were like,
sleep.
It's time to sleep.
That's how you know it was a B.
So, did you learn anything from this movie?
I learned not to buy old vampires cloaks.
Okay.
I learned.
My brother said that to me once. He's like, I don't like buying things at thrift stores because I could be wearing something from a dead person.
It's true.
But why would that affect you? Like, it's not like the person died in it.
You don't know that.
If they didn't die in it and they're dead, what's wrong with wearing their clothes? Right?
Right.
How would you know?
There's
if you
difference between thrift and vintage. There's a big difference.
What's the
to me.
difference? Please illuminate our audience.
The difference is thrift is mostly garbage. Oh, this shirt's got a hole in it. I'm going to donate it to somebody. Yeah, it's because someone wants your holy old ratty shirt.
I have an idea to increase our audience, by the way.
Let's help the poor people get jobs by giving them our yucky clothes to interview in. Please.
I have an idea to...
Vintage is like, oh, this is a 1970s Gucci or Louis Vuitton. That's vintage.
I have an idea to increase our audience.
What?
I'm going to randomly mention one of our friends in each episode and then tag them on it and be like, you should totally hear around 4910. We totally talk about you.
Who are we going to talk about? Noah?
We talked about Noah.
Yeah.
But we'll just randomly take friends that we know have large social media followings.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll be like, oh man, check out this podcast. I get mentioned at blah, blah, blah. Then
At the very end.
At the very end, when Becca explains the difference between vintage and Goodwill. Mm-hmm. I don't know the difference.
Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes there's stupid rich people who donate the wrong stuff.
Can there be vintage at Goodwill?
Yes.
But
It
there
is
can't-
very rare.
But there can't be Goodwill at Vintage.
No.
If I found a fur coat,
That doesn't mean it's good.
hold on, a great fur coat
Mm-hmm.
at an estate sale that someone died in.
Died in it.
They died in it.
Yeah.
Should I buy it?
No, that would be trash.
Would I turn into a werewolf?
Probably.
Would
And get shot by the fashion police.
if they didn't die in it, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
great fur coat, should I buy it?
Yes.
I don't believe in fur.
Well, I didn't say it. You didn't ask me that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just said, should I buy it?
You just used fur coat as your example.
Oh, what if it's a rabbit fur coat?
No, not a little bunny.
But what if it's the album rabbit fur coat?
Don't buy either.
What if we tag Jenny Lewis? We tagged you at, almost an hour into the show. We talk about your album Rabbit Fur Coat and how much we like it. Check it out. Tell your friends.
I don't think she'd give us the time of
She
day.
wouldn't?
No.
We didn't really go on a hero's journey in this movie.
And in 4 different people's lives.
We went through 4 different people encountering a house that does not drip blood,
That drips bad things.
that drips bad things. And one story that wasn't even really in the house. That was your favorite story.
Yes.
You know what? I could watch an hour-long movie of just Peter Cushing standing outside a stream reflecting on his life.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could just rewind that scene over and over again. There's such depth and beauty to it.
He does.
So what's our next movie? That is not Joy Luck Club, The Violent Secrets of the Yeah Sisterhood, Titanic,
Shh, that was my pick.
or Memoirs of a Geisha, or Jerry Maguire.
I picked Titanic.
No, not Titanic. We're gonna save that. That's a big one.
Okay.
That's like a big Oscar season one.
Guess what it is?
Huh.
Steel Magnolias.
Oh no!
You didn't call that one out.
Can
I
it-
get it.
Can it be Black Steel Magnolias?
No, you ask me this every time. No.
Can we watch White Steel? You watch White Steel Magnolias. I'll watch Black Steel Magnolias,
I won't compare.
and we'll compare.
No, sorry.
What if we get 2 TVs? We start them at the same time,
Because I already know mine's better.
and I play Dark Side of the Moon while we're watching it. We see if it syncs up. What if
There's no more what ifs.
I wear 3D glasses for Steel Magnolias?
You'll cry that much more because it'll be
Is there a Steel Magnolias drinking game?
as close to your face we can make one.
I think we should make one after this.
Mm-hmm.
Every time someone says Steel Magnolias, drink.
They don't say it at all in the movie.
It's a bad drinking game.
Yeah.
So the next movie,
Steel Magnolias.
fucking Steel Magnolias. I really tried to hold on to the F words on this one, but Steel Magnolias, starring
You want me to list them all?
Sally Ride, the girl,
No.
the lady who died in the space shuttle.
Sally Field,
Sally Ride,
Shirley MacLaine,
Charlie McLean,
Daryl Hannah,
Daryl Hannah.
Dolly Parton,
I'm good with that.
Olympia Dukakis,
Okay.
Pretty Woman Julia Roberts,
My least favorite actress ever.
Dylan,
Mother of the Space Baby.
Dylan McDermott,
Or Dermot Mulroney.
Tom Skerritt.
Okay, I like him. Commander Dallas.
There's a couple older actors who I don't know their names, but you would recognize them. What's it called when they're in lots of movies? Is actually
Character actors.
yes, those.
James Coburn.
No,
Sonny Chiba.
no.
Sammo Hung. John Saxon.
You'll recognize them.
David Carradine. I'm naming people that I would want to be. Here's my dream Steel Magnolias cast.
Mm-hmm.
Gunnar Hansen. Dick Warlock. I'm trying to think who else could be in it. John Saxon again, playing a dual role. Jean-Claude Van Damme playing twins. And Jackie Chan, Chow Yun-Fat, who's the guy? Marjo Joyner, Reggie Bannister from Phantasm, Angus Scrimm.
Yay?
Angus Scrimm will be playing like the Olympia Dukakis part.
Yeah.
And what's the speech? Give me a speech from Fred Green to Fred Green.
Jesus Christ, just confuse all my movies.
It's this movie.
I will give you 3 statements.
Yes. It's called Fried Green Magnolias.
No.
Steel.
3 statements.
Yeah.
She says, "My colors are blush and bashful. One shade of pink is much deeper than the other."
Who says that?
Julia Roberts.
Oh, I was going to say it as Angus Scrim.
No.
My colors are deep red and purple.
That's not what I said.
No, it's not. You come here. You think you'll go to heaven when you die. No, you have to watch Steel Magnolias with your wife.
Is the armadillo cake looks like it's bleeding everywhere.
Who says that?
The guy she marries, Jackson's aunt, she made an armadillo groom's cake for their wedding. And then...
Oh my God, I don't want to watch this movie. Oh, please.
This here...
Why must she torture me with these movies?
This here is the best cherry Coke that anyone ever made. And that's how Daryl Hannah meets her future husband.
Does Daryl Hannah wear an eye patch in this?
No, but she wears those really crazy old 50s glasses when really it's only the 80s. Her name's Annelle.
I only like movies
She comes from a
where Daryl Hannah has an eye patch.
bad part of town.
And whistles the theme from They Call Me One Eye. She comes from a bad part of town.
Yeah.
I like where this is going. Keep going.
And her husband's running from the law. And she's trying to find a job. And she went to beauty school, so she gets a job at Truby's Beauty Shop. Who's Dolly Parton. And they take her in.
So that's, you heard that right. The next podcast will be Steel Magnolias. Will I cry?
Yes.
No.
Oh, you want to bet?
I probably will cry.
You will bawl your eyes out and you'll say what you always say to me. That's so nice.
What did I say to you tonight? I said a great one to you tonight.
That's so special.
I said, if they play that commercial
Oh, it's
where
puppy.
the dog is driving the car and his puppy son is sleeping in the back seat, I swear to God, I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
And then you do every time.
That commercial is so sad because
It is.
that dog loves his son. And one, the dog learned how to drive, which is amazing. The
very
dog
sweet.
loves his son. He has his son out for a drive so his son can fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And his son will not fall asleep. And the dad just looks back and goes, well, I had him. I have to take care of him. And he drives back out. Why don't we just watch that commercial next time instead of Steel Magnolias?
No, you said I could.
Okay. I love you.
I love you.
So we're going to watch Steel Magnolias.
The girls at work will be very proud of you.
Why?
Because it's a woman movie.
There's only like 2 girls at work. They won't care.
Cole will probably care.
Kathy, by the way.
Yeah.
Documented Kathy Amato. You're mentioned on this podcast, so this mark. Kathy said, hey, I listened to you and Becca talking about 9.5 weeks. I made it about 10 minutes in, then I felt like I was intruding into your sex life. So I stopped listening to it, but I didn't. And I listened to the whole thing. So now she looks at me and she's like, I thought Sam had it all together, and he thought women had 2 penises.
Kathy is a tough lady, though. She's strong, tough woman.
She's tough.
She's not the type of woman to watch Steel Magnolias. However,
I bet she's seen
she
it.
may have had a secret soft spot and
She
likes
does.
it.
She raised Bone Thugs in Harmony.
I know. And actually, Kathy, looks-wise, reminds me of Sally Field.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
Is there anybody I'm going to like in this movie other than Tom Skerritt?
Weezer's dog.
Okay.
She's this giant Beethoven-like dog.
Okay.
And they're always trying to...
Are there any animated parts?
No.
They're trying to kill the dog?
This dog is just like a big troublemaker.
Oh.
The whole movie. So he always jokes, Tom Skerritt is Sally Field's husband. And all these women are her friends.
Uh-huh.
And him and Weezer don't get along. They bicker all the time. And he always threatens to kill her dog if she doesn't get off his property. And this dog is just this big slobbering mess.
Is Mary Kay Place in this movie?
No.
Is Lorenzo Lamas the snake eater in this movie?
No.
Is there any kung fu in this movie?
No.
Are there guns?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yes.
Does anyone get shot in the face?
No.
Are there any zombies?
No.
All right, well, next time, Steel Magnolias. Thanks for listening to BNS About Movies. This has been Sam.
And Becca.
Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Tell your friends.
Is there anything you'd like to plug?
It's in the dishwasher, but we don't have one anymore. Our kitchen.
We would like to plug our other podcast.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The People versus O.J. Simpson versus me. You can find it on iTunes.
Yeah.
And it's about O.J. Simpson.
That's all we can say about that. You have
about
to listen to find out.
There's different guests on there. There's a lot of guests on that.
Yeah.
We had Mark Furman on once. No, we didn't.
Who? Our dog is Mark Furman.
Starring Angelo Panico as Mark Furman. Mr. Furman, did you ever use the...
He's a racist dog.
Do you consider yourself racist? All right. Thanks. Is there anything you really want to plug?
My husband.
Oh, well, we don't have a dishwasher anymore.
I know. So no.
I would like to plug my wife. I'll be editing that out.
Oh.
Or maybe I'll forget.
You'll forget.
I'll forget.
Good night, everybody.